22nd annual Wakanda Civil War Days. Sorry about my states confused. Today we're going to be witnessing the Battle of Chickasaw Bayou. The battle took place in December of 1862. It was important because some people would wonder why we are here. Why are we remembering one of the greatest tragedies of our nation's history? Some would say that we are here to glorify war. We are not. We are here to remember our history. We are here to honor those who put self above, who put country above self, and place themselves in harm's way, that they may carry forward the causes in which they believe. We do not come here to glorify war, for in the words of William Tecumseh Sherman, war is all hell. And yet, it is important that we recognize the sacrifice of those who served at Vicksburg. Most of the people on the battlefield, many of the reenactors you see before you, have just returned from a minor little reenactment in the state of Pennsylvania near a small town called Gettysburg. Gettysburg, of course, is looked at as the turning point of the American Civil War. It's looked as the high point of the American Confederacy. But while Gettysburg roads did not know the condition of the roads, and so they resorted to the best tool they had, and that was to go find out. And to find out, they used their best weapon, cavalry. What you see now, a group of Federal and Confederate cavalry out patrolling, out checking the roads, out determining the location of the enemy, out probing, maybe looking for an enemy supply line, looking for an enemy supply wagon. They have stumbled into each other and are a typical type of action between cavalry. Cavalry trooper is going to be armed with a 6-shot revolver. They will typically carry a cavalry carbine. Most typical cavalry carbine would be a single-shot Sharps rifle. It is a single-shot breech-loading weapon. It is much easier to load and fire from horseback than the muzzle-loading muskets that you see with the infantry. In addition, they will also have their sword. Prevent the Federals from taking that position. While the Federals have brought up longer range in an effort to destroy those pieces, that they may be able to move across with a prearranged pattern capable of cutting large swaths into a body of infantry. So the Federal artillery is trying to utilize their range advantage. The Confederate artillery has managed to find its target. It has hit a Confederate limber, causing that limber to explode, taking that gun out of action because the limber contains the ammunition that the artillery piece is going to have. He was the overall commander of the defenses of Vicksburg. General Lee has begun to assemble his infantry battalions and move them in support of the Confederate artillery up on the hills. It was a very effective weapon. It was slow to load. And now we see Thayer's brigade moving forward. Supported on both flanks by mounted and dismounted cavalry. They've moved to it in effective range and are preparing to engage. Now, the Confederate forces right now are mostly dismounted cavalry, so the carbine is an effective weapon designed to be usable both on foot and on horseback. But by shortening the length of the barrel, you've compromised some of the range capability of the weapon. You've simplified its loading process, but it is still not as effective as the rifle. Moving slowly through the swamp have the advantage of better weaponry, as is their artillery at the far end. Far longer range and far more accurate. They find themselves engaging against the enemy. Meanwhile, Stephen D. Lee continues moving with his Alabama Brigade to support the forces that he has deployed here north of the town of Vicksburg. A federal victory here by General Sherman will mean that the defenses and to render that position indefensible. At the Battle of Gettysburg, 8th Illinois served in the Eastern Theater and part of the Army of the Potomac. The primary unit engaged at Chickasaw Bayou was actually the 16th Ohio Regiment of Volunteer Infantry. As you look at the Federal cavalry, they would have to load as a muzzle loader, so they would pull out a cartridge, pour the powder down, put the bullet into the muzzle of the round, ram the cartridge, whereas the Federals are typical, well-trained and well-disciplined rifle, almost to the point of recapturing their original gun positions. And we can see the Alabamians of Stephen Lee. We are fortunate that during the American Civil War there was no devices for recording the human voice. It would not be till the turn of the 19th century that this would actually occur. However, we are alive at the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. They had the dedication of the Peace Monument. President Franklin Roosevelt was there, the Army of the Republic. And the men of blue and gray, now in their 80s and 90s, gathered on the field of Gettysburg. And they had films, and one of the things they captured were Confederates giving the old rebel yell, as they had done 75 years earlier. So we are fortunate, having captured that tidbit of oral history from 150 years ago, to be able to recreate as best we can that same sound. Chickasaw Bayou have been checked. The Confederates are still holding the high ground, the Walnut Hills north of Vicksburg. And so would begin a campaign of approximately 6 months, from December of 1862 until July 4th of 1863. General Grant would begin maneuvering his army with the sole objective of handling supply of food and ammunition laid on the Confederate troops in Vicksburg. He would ride into Vicksburg on July 4th, having captured that most critical of cities. And General Lincoln, President Lincoln, upon hearing the news, would say that the Mississippi, now the father of all rivers, flows unvexed to the sea. Control of the Mississippi would give the Federal Army control of the western theater of the war, and then dividing further the Confederates. And I invite you to remain. Although it has not been a good day, we will still hear a few words from our 16th President of the United States, Mr. Abraham Lincoln of Illinois.